Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday morning, friends. It's always great to be able to hang out with you. Yeah, man, I claim, the best day of the week, Wednesday, hump day. And as always, we connect around about this time just to chew the fat, share some ideas. And, again, doesn't matter how the week started out, our goal is always to finish strong, finish doing pursuing our purpose, moving our mission forward. And so this morning, I wanna share some thoughts with you about building resilience, right? And I, of course, welcome you to chime into the conversation, man. Ask questions, make comments. Feel free. I'll try to address as many of them as I can. But as always, thank you for joining. So yeah. Building resilience. If I asked you if you want to be happy, you go, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to be happy. And I go, great. But you need resilience in order to do that, right? If you want to be successful, you need resilience, right? You need resilience because you cannot achieve anything that is worthy of having, happiness, success, contentment, whatever. You can't achieve those things without meeting some hardships and some challenges along the way. You just can't, right? In order to learn a new skill, in order to build a successful career, a successful business, in order to foster meaningful relationships, in order to pursue any worthy endeavor, right? To encapsulate that idea, in order to live the good life. In order to live the good life requires you to confront some challenges, some hardships, some setbacks, some frustration, some pain along the way, right? So in order to make it along this journey, in order to move from pain to wisdom, in order to move from fear to courage, or from suffering to strength, requires you to be resilient, requires us to be resilient. Now, when people hear the term resilience, right, they tend to think in terms of bounce back, right? How many times have you heard that term or that phrase, bounce back, right? You've heard the phrase bounce back from a setback, right? I get it, but I have to say I don't totally buy the term, and this is why. When we limit our understanding of the term resilience, or the idea of resilience, right? When we limit it to this idea of bouncing back, of getting back to where we're from or where we were, I think we rob ourselves of the opportunity to grow, the growth and the mental toughness that we get from the hardships and the setbacks and the pain and the suffering. We rob ourselves of those lessons and the opportunity to grow. The reality of life is that, we cannot truly bounce back. We cannot truly get back to where we were before, right? Because what happens is that whatever it is that happens to us becomes a part of us, right? The good, the bad, the indifferent, all of it impacts us in some ways, and the more intense the experience, the greater the impact is, right? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I often say that it's going through an experience like being a member of the original Jamaican bobsled team, has impacted me in significant ways, right? It's just like mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I can't go back to the Devon Harris I was before that experience, right? And that's a great experience that took place in my life. But obviously there are other, unsavory experiences, failing in business or breaking up in a relationship. All of those things are going to impact us in significant ways. Resilient people, though, find healthy ways to integrate the harsh experiences. Obviously, it's easy to integrate, to really accept and embrace the great experiences in our lives. But as we started out the conversation saying, there's just no way you can live the good life without dealing with these challenges, right? So resilient people are going to find a way to integrate those harsh experiences in their lives as well. So I guess a question you may be asking is, so Devon, how do I then develop this thing called resilience, right? How do I become mentally tougher? How do I become emotionally stronger so that I can move my purpose forward, so that I can improve my performance in every area of my life? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I want to share my 3 R's with you this morning, right? 3 R's. And I'm going to go over to my banner here for my friends over in LinkedIn. Ashton, thank you, man. Thank you for joining. So my banners, let me get them right. So the first R would be responsibility. There it is, responsibility, baby. I think the first step of being resilient is to take responsibility for who you are and for your life, right? That I would say is the first step. Of course, so some people use the term self-responsibility. I actually like using the term personal responsibility. Whatever term you choose, it's not really something that you can learn. It's not a craft. It's not a skill that you can learn. I think it begins with making a decision to be responsible, right? And that's a decision that, quite frankly, we have to make many, many times throughout our lives, right? Almost every day, until it becomes a part of who we are. The challenge with this idea of responsibility, personal responsibility, self-responsibility, is that people often hear it through a tone of blame, right? Like, who is responsible for this, right? Why am I responsible? Or I didn't do anything, right? That's the kind of tone in which they hear the term responsibility. But I promise you, it's not about that at all. It's not about assigning blame. When we talk about personal responsibility, we're not trying to assign blame at all, man. It's a recognition that you have the ability to choose and to control your own actions, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the situation that you find yourself in. And because you have that ability to choose and decide and control your actions, the great news is that in the end, you have the ability to choose your own destiny. So the essence of responsibility, I'll pull this banner up, is the acceptance of the consequences of your actions, good, bad, or indifferent, right? You're not responsible for every single thing that happens to you. All of us over the last year and a half have been dealing with, collectively dealing with the impact of the COVID-19 virus, right? None of us created it, but you're certainly responsible for how you respond to it, right? You have every control over whether or not you wear a mask and you wear a glove and you wash your hand and you don't touch your face, or in this case, at this point in time, you have a choice over whether and control over whether or not you get vaccinated, right? So it is true that a lot of things are going to happen to you that you have absolutely no control over, but make no mistake about it, you have control over how you respond to it. Everything in your life, everything ultimately depends on what you do and not what others do, not what the others may do to you. And that is responsibility. That's personal responsibility, right? Even during those moments when we have to recognize the limits of our own powers to shape the world around us, we still have to strive, and we still have the power to become masters of ourselves. And that's why it's not a skill, I believe, that you can learn, but a decision that you make every single day, because just the pursuit of self-mastery becomes a lifetime endeavor for all of us, for all those who are serious about personal growth, right? Right, Leon, morning, great to see you. So yeah, we're talking about then being responsible for your action, right? Being accountable for your actions. And the thing about it, since we don't live in a vacuum, we're working with others, we're part of a team, however you define team. When you are responsible, you become dependable, man. And people, when I say responsible, what I mean is that when you are accountable for your actions, when you accept that the consequences of what you do, good or bad, is on your shoulders, you become a better teammate. You become more dependable. You become more reliable. Right. So let's talk quickly about how you can begin to cultivate this thing called personal responsibility. Right. The first thing is that, hey, the complaining and the blaming, you gotta have to cut that out. You're gonna have to go past that, because when you blame others, my friends, you're giving up your power. Yeah, I mean, if you're not responsible, if I'm the one who's responsible for your life, then it means that you have, or the things that happen in your life, then it means that you have no duty, no obligation, no power to change it, because it's not you, it's me, right? How many times have you heard that, right? So when you blame others, you put yourself in the position of being a victim, right? And you allow them to affect your environment, affect the way you think, hence affect the way you behave, affect the results that you achieve, and how you feel, right? And so it's a incredibly disempowering, debilitating thing, because, as I said earlier, it takes control away from you, and it renders you powerless and helpless. You can't help yourself, right? You're powerless to do anything for yourself. So please, let's get past the blaming and the complaining. It doesn't work. And then you kind of have to learn not to take things personally. Yeah. It's all a business. It's all a business. And I know it's kind of a hard, a challenging mindset to adopt, but hey, learn not to take things personally. Learn to figure out the lessons you need to learn from a particular situation, a particular interaction. I just heard this recently. The difference between a feedback and a criticism, is how you heard it, how you choose to hear it. The same words said in the same tone could be seen as a criticism, but it could also be seen as as valuable feedback. And I always say that when it comes on to success, I have no ego. And we really need to sit on our egos, man. Tell me what I need to know so I can get better. Tell me what I need to know, what I need to do so I can go achieve the results that I'm after, right? So my ego, and it's not that I don't have an ego, but I have learned to subjugate my ego to the goals and desires that I have, because my ego is going to get in the way. Your ego is going to get in the way. So stop taking things so personally, right? So that's number one, responsibility. Number two, my friends, is that you have to learn to reframe. You have to learn how to look at a negative situation in a positive way. That's what reframing is. You ask any psychologist and they'll tell you, the best way to deal with the challenges, the stressors in our lives, is to look at the positive. And I know that we sometimes find ourselves in situations that it's hard to see the silver lining, but every dark cloud has a silver lining. And so when I look at COVID-19, for example, this global pandemic, right, and how it has almost shut down the world, basically, it kind of did. And commerce, businesses, livelihood have been significantly impacted. I look back, I think back to, the Great Depression. I think back to the Great Depression, and I think to myself, That was significant, but people survived. People found a way to get through it. People found a way to thrive during that challenging time. Um, Businesses were birthed, companies were born and created during those times. And in fact, if you look at our experience today, lots of people, yeah, pivoted and started companies of their own, started businesses of their own. So, as challenging, as frustrating as our current experience might be, we have to figure a way to take those negative experiences, all the things that we're seeing around us that's negative, and find a way to look at it positively. And that means really paying attention to your thoughts, right? Figuring out what it is that you might be thinking, and rejecting, I'll put it up here, the negative assertion of others. Other people might be there saying, oh, we'll never get through this, it's going to destroy us, whatever it is. That may be true for them. You know what I mean? It may be true for them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true for you. And so your responsibility, to go back to the first point, is to reject those negative assertions, because they're not going to serve you well, Ian. It's not going to serve you well at all. So let's figure out how we're going to do that. We're going to reject the negative assertions. But I think you also, because we're not perfect, you also have to take notice of your own thoughts, and because we're all susceptible to be thinking negatively about the challenges that we're facing. It's unfortunately kind of how we're wired through evolution, to be always on the alert for danger, for challenges in our environment. And that kind of part of our DNA causes us to think negatively. But you have a responsibility. You have control over how you think and what you do. And so start taking notice of your negative thoughts, and then start replacing those thoughts with positive ones. You actually have control over that, right? So responsibility, reframe, and number 3, my third one, is that relaunch. There's I call it the worst secret in the world. Hey, we're going to have difficulties, man. There are always going to be obstacles between us and our goals, obstacles and between us and the vision that we have for our lives, right? I tell my audiences all the time that your dreams will be tested. If you dream big things, if you have desires for exceptional customer service in your business, in your company, or you just you have goals of doing something extraordinary, it is going to be tested. It is going to be tested. And so my encouragement to you is, pull up my next banner here, to develop an attitude of how I can instead of why I can't. If you look at all the successful people across the board, all the different areas of human endeavor, what you see is people who were facing tremendous challenges, but instead of throwing their hands up in the air when they got knocked down, they go, well, how can I do this? Instead of thinking, wow, there's no way I can do this, right? They reject this attitude of why I can't. Oh, there's a pandemic, I can't do anything. That's BS. There's always something you can do. And so you have to develop that attitude. How can I get this done, instead of thinking about why you can't get it done? And so in that same breath, and I've spoken about this many times before, pursue excellence. Pursue excellence and not perfection. Take it from me, man. I'm a reformed perfectionist. And by that, I mean, my goal was always to have to do things in a perfect way, to be perfect, to always be perfect. Challenges that as human beings we are naturally flawed. And yes, there are times when we will perform in such a way that someone will look at it and say, wow, that's perfect, right? In the Olympics, the gymnast or the figure skater or, one of those sports will get a perfect 10. So occasionally our performance will be adjudged as perfect. But I promise you, if your goal is to be to the personification of perfection, you're going to run in trouble, because we're gonna fail. There's always a learning curve. We are stricken with human frailties and foibles, and you're not going to always hit your mark. In addition to that, even when you do, because your goal is perfection, perfection is never satisfied. You're going to move a mountain, and perfection is going to say, it's okay. You didn't move it far enough, or you didn't move a tall enough mountain, right? So, hey, Claudia Joy, yes, you have to relaunch. And so every time you get knocked down, you have to get up, and instead of pursuing perfection, you have to pursue excellence. What's that? What is excellence? It is simply doing your best. Is that possible? Can you do your best? Can you do your best every single time? I would argue yes. Simply do your best. Give 110%, as we say in sports. If you do that, you'll walk away knowing that regardless of what the end result is, hey, I gave my best in this moment. This was the best shot I have. I can live with that. You don't have to beat yourself up, right? So pursue perfection as opposed to, pursue excellence as opposed to perfection. And that will help you, man. That will help you to be resilient. That will help you not to bounce back from a setback. That's one way to look at it, but it will help you to grow. It will help you to become mentally tougher. It will help you to become emotionally stronger, help you to become more of who you are. And in the end, that's what we're striving to, right? So yes, always great to be able to connect with you, share some ideas through the fight. Thank you for my friends over here on Instagram, and of course LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook who have chimed in as well. Always great to see you. Looking forward to connecting with you next week. Come back, same time, same place. Bring a friend. All right, let's grow the community. Let's have lively conversations. And in the interim, I want to invite you over to my YouTube channel as well, right? Just go to YouTube and type in "Keep on Pushing Always." And there you'll be treated to some amazing people with amazing stories of success and perseverance and resilience, and how they overcame that to continue to move their purpose forward. So looking forward to seeing you over there. Looking forward to seeing you here next week. And until we do reconnect, you know what you need to do, right? Yeah, man. Keep on pushing.